let me say this. Even if you can't find someone, you got to have your own mind made up. You see, my mind's made up that if no one else, if we can't get no one else to work with us or do this or do that, then hey, we gonna do our thing. You know, there's a statement, I think it was Les Brown that made this statement years ago. He said it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not get one than to have an opportunity come and not be prepared. Okay? I say it all the time, seize the day, possess the land, seize the day. You have got to be aggressive mentally. When I look at the scriptures and I look at how the scripture described when the Messiah was given an example, and he said that there was this one man who dealt unto his servants these talents, which was money. And one person took his and he doubled it. He had 5, he took it and doubled it. I think he had 2 and doubled it, and the other one had 1. And him that had 1, he said, "Nah, I'm too afraid to invest and do anything with it. I'm gonna just take it and bury it, and when my master come back, I'll still have it." His master came back. He said, "You slothful and wicked servant, you should have took that I gave you. You should have doubled it." The statement that the man made about his master, he said, "I knew you were a hard man, that you were gathering where you didn't even plant." That's the mentality Yah wants you to have. He wants you to have such a mentality where it's like, I'm gonna just gather. I'm gonna keep at it. You know, it's a horrible thing to think about how when the time hits that people are just gonna be dying all over. And a lot of them ain't even gonna know it's gonna be food right under their feet. Do you know it's food under your feet? I mean, literally right there where you are, some of these things that we call weeds are actually edible plants. Right under your feet there. You know it? Can you identify it? Well, you should. You should be able to identify it. People gonna be walking around just like, "Oh man, I ain't got nothing to eat." They walking over on wild garlic. There's plantain sitting here in this grass. Here's wild lettuce. Clovers, dandelions, all this stuff is edible food. And we'll be sitting there walking around just starving because we have no knowledge. What does the scripture say? My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Think about that. And so, man, we got to prepare ourselves mentally, and you got to get to the point where you say, "You know what, I'm gonna do this thing. If I can't find nobody in my area, I'm gonna just do it, push it, do what I can. I'm gonna figure this thing out." And I'm telling you, when you get to move in a certain way, I know how Yah is. Yah don't like it when he got a person just want to sit back and put their feet up. Now, don't get me wrong. The scripture talks about resting in Yahushua HaMashiach. That we are to rest. Spiritually rest. Okay? Physically get it moving. Right. You know what I'm saying? Faith without works is dead. That's right. So you got to have some works. So all we're saying is get your mind prepared mentally and say, okay, I don't know how much time I got. Let me put together a plan, a set of goals, long range, short range goals, where I want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, what I want to do, and put that stuff together and go to Yah, go before Yah on those things and pray to him. I'm telling you, and pray to him about those, point those things out. I still got this prayer list that I did years ago, and I'm telling you, everything on that prayer list came to pass. I had this one big cardboard thing that was almost like a cardboard book, and any image, anything I wanted, I would grab an image of it and put it in this thing, and I would just pray over it. Those things would come exactly what I seen. I would get those things. It was almost like a force. You know why? Because I imagined it. Nothing could stop my imagination. Because I imagine, the scripture says, believe that you receive it and you shall have it. Wait a minute. You mean if you believe that you receive it, you ain't even got it yet. It says you will have it if you believe it. That's imaging. That's positive imaging. You got to think bigger. You got to think, don't let your circumstances and things just get you to the point where you just can't, I just don't want nothing no more. You know, you got to get past that. It reminded me of Zig Ziglar. He's another motivational speaker I used to listen to years ago. He said one day he looked, this guy was fishing in a pond, and he was catching these fish, right? And he said he noticed he's catching these big old fish, and he's throwing them back. He said, what the heck? He's throwing back all the big fish. He's keeping these little bitty fish like this. So he went over to him and said, well, I'm not understanding this. He says, you keeping all the little fish and you throwing all the big ones back. What's going on with that? He said, well, I only got a little bitty frying pan. A little bitty frying pan. And that's what we do sometimes. We say, well, I don't have the space for it. Then he say, I'm gonna bless you with so much you won't have room to receive it. Right? But you're like, no, I don't want the overflow, Father. Just give me, just give me that little bit, And Yah wants you to really, really, really be hungry. He wants you to hold him to his word. Yah, I'm telling you, it's funny. I got to tell you, Yah, sometimes it seems like he has a sense of humor. You hear me? Because I've seen him do this. He'll tell you, yeah, ask and it shall be given. And you go and you ask him, yeah, Father, I was wondering if I can get this. And he look at you. Yeah. He be like, Father, I was just wondering if I can get this. And he look at you, yeah, you don't want it enough, so.
Well, sometimes we ask him with the wrong intention.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes I've seen the Father say, no, I'm going to wait. And he'll wait literally. And I've experienced this to where I'll be like, Father, I was wondering. He said, whoa, okay, so you really want it? Well, yeah. And you say, man, I would sit back and shake my head and say, I guess he wanted me to come at him like that. The scripture says it says, command ye me. When I first saw that, I said, I can't believe I'm seeing this right now. Command ye me. He said, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be open unto you. I'm telling you, the scripture says, eyes haven't seen, nor ears have heard the things that he has put aside for his people. For those that love him. I'm telling you right now, if you get anything from us coming together, I want what we're talking about to get down in your spirit to the point that when you leave here, that the world around you ain't going to erase it. That thing will be so deep in your heart, hid, to where you'll walk away from this and you'll say, you know what? I am gonna try to get me a garden going. I'm going to try to see if I can work with somebody. I am going to just get myself together mentally. I'm not going to blow any more money on this here and on this here and on that there and over this here. We get out of the income tax come, boy, folk go out their mind when they get that income tax check. It's like, man, some people be a week later, they don't have nothing. What happened? Oh, well, I had fun. I had to treat myself.
Splurge.
Exactly, I want to splurge. I splurge. So what you do? What did you do? I brought this. I brought the another pair of jeans, blue jeans. Another new expensive pair of Nike shoes.
Another game system.
Another game system. You sitting there, you scratching your head, man. So you just had a state-of-the-art cell phone. It was a year old, and you had to get a new one. Yeah, but this one got the special thumbprint, eye scan. You be sitting there saying, man, it's the same thing. But we just get caught, and I'm one to talk. Let me tell you something. I used to love gadgets. I had a thing for gadgets so bad until I have to listen to my wife. Because sometimes man, look at that thing. Look what it do. And she's like, honey, come on, honey, come on back. Wait a minute, look at it. I have a million gadgets, if I just let go. But my wife, she always said, no, honey, let's just wait. We can't do that now. Let's wait. I'd be like, you're right.
Let me bring it into context. I can't bark out what happens, but I just say, well, the budget might not allow for that, because this right here really ain't necessary. We kind of have to just tread a little lightly. Like there was a time where he wanted to get this camera. I said, baby, it's going to be obsolete in a couple of years. Yeah. And I said, look at what they're asking for it, and do we really need it right now?
Yeah, we need it.
And I'm like,
I need the camera. And I was sitting there and I was like, but then I said that shit, and her logic sometimes is inescapable. You know what I mean? I was sitting there and she said, honey, think about it. This one has a tape. You're going to record on a tape. And she said they got other ones.
They already started to come out with digital now,
and I was sitting there, I was like, yeah.
Now the scripture says, "Come, let us reason together." That's called reasoning.
And the Most High, he got the way of, like he told Abraham, hearken unto your wife. And I was sitting there like, all right. But you know what? She was right. The one thing I wanted really badly, she was so out there. Had I got that thing, I would have been sitting back with it. I would have been like, oh, man.
Stuck with it.
Stuck with it, yeah. But I waited, and then the opportunity came, and I was like, oh yeah, I can get it now what I wanted. So that's cool. It worked out. And so I've learned to be patient. Those seasons, like I said, they go and they come. And when those seasons come, jump on it. And when they go, have enough prepared aside that's going to get you through that time until the next season comes. But everybody has a season. I call it a time of visitation. When I did my studies, I saw that it was every person has what I refer to as a time of visitation. There's a time when Yah actually visits you to bless you extremely. And if you hear him and get your ears open and start to hear and follow, you'll walk right into it. But sometimes before you could walk into that blessing, he may take you through some things because he got to get some things off of you.
Right.
Like Brother Cairo, where you at? Right there. Like Brother Cairo, I know, I've been knowing this brother now. He came to one of our events, how long ago? About 2 years ago. And I've been keeping in touch with him via email and just, listen to some of the things me and him have been talking about. And I can see how the Most High have taken him through a process. And it's a struggle process. But at the same time, he take him through this process, things are falling off of him. And he's like, wow. That's the path of the believer. I'm telling you, you're going to go through some things, and he's trying to rid you of self. He's trying to get you out of this, get you out of that, so he can get you to a point where finally you'll be like, okay, I get it. And then he says, okay, now I'm going to bless you. And then when you get the blessing, you're going to look back and say, wow, it really wasn't that bad. It seems bad when you're going through these things, because sometimes he put you in a situation where you just can't get no help from no one and nowhere. It's a reason why he take you through that, because he wants you to realize he is your help. Yep, you'll be looking for people. I need some help. Somebody over there got some help from help. You calling folk up. I've been through that. Call for it. Hey, we about to get set up. But what? Man, I just, be relatives. Mama, daddy, gone. No kidding you. You be sitting there like, man, I can't get no help nowhere. And I'm telling you, God does that because he said, no, I want you to have faith. I gotta wait. And when he make the way, you say, man, I was seeking help from over here. He can help just come out of nowhere over here. But do we have any more questions?
I just want to make one more point. I think another forgotten skill is canning, which is a good way to preserve, food also. Because I know I grew up in an area where my peoples did this kind of stuff, and it didn't get passed on to my generation. So I'm going back and learning it now with family members that still partake in this kind of stuff. But that's one thing I got to learn myself, canning.
That's right. That's all I was saying about the peaches. You can keep canned peaches, and they'll keep their flavor. Canned peaches in particular, keep their flavor, stay the same for 5 to 6 years. Mm-hmm. And you can keep it canned and still being fresh past 10. Mm-hmm. So you could just be rotating stocks out. Like, you got a lot of family. You can be rotating stocks out, still leaving a little extra. I'm like, it's a decade.
Yes.
That's a decade. That's right.
Yeah, these brothers making the point about canning, and this brother in particular mentioned that the other generation didn't pass it on, right? And that's something that we as a people have been guilty for a long time, thousands of years. We actually did a lesson months ago where we talked about that. It was probably last year, actually, where even in ancient times, they weren't passing on Yah's laws and things to the younger generations. And so many things were missed. So we have to keep the momentum going. You know, we always hear the statement, each one teach one. But we've got to do that. But unfortunately, again, this system here has made us pass the buck on to someone else. When the scripture says, train up a child in the way that they should go, can you imagine in ancient times if our ancestors actually sent their children to the Pharaoh to teach them? Or send them to any of our known enemies, the Canaanites? Can you imagine if our people did that? No, they didn't do that back then, you see. But we so readily send our children off to be taught. We don't want to deal with it, and some of us don't feel capable, you see. But that's because we've been trained to think this way. We've been trained to believe that we can't do anything. I mean, that's in large. People in general don't even want the hassle of trying to grow their own food. We've talked to our family members who have actually said, what y'all raising chickens for? Can't you just go to the store and get them? As if we weren't aware that the chickens are sold in stores. Yeah, we know we used to buy them from the stores, but there's a reason why we're raising them ourselves. Number one, the chickens will give you so many eggs. Eggs are so expensive right now. The chickens will give you, depending on how many you have, you can get 200 eggs a week. Really? Yes. There was 1 week years ago, we counted like 260 eggs. And it was like so many eggs that we couldn't even eat them fast enough. But think if you had to buy 260 eggs. That's a lot of money. And so even if it's just for the eggs, you are saving your family money. I want to share the story about a church in North Carolina. They lived in a food desert. That's an area where there's not a lot of crops being grown. And this pastor of a church, and I was really happy to see that a Christian pastor was doing this, he said, a lot of my church members are poor. They can't even afford to feed themselves, but there is a food desert. There's not a lot of food around. And so he got the young people at his church, and they started using lots in the city. And they started growing food so fast, he said that they cut their food bill in half. Now, I don't know what some of you may spend for food. We spend, because we have a large family, it takes a lot to feed us. That's our motivation for growing food, right there. You see, that's our motivation for getting chickens. When you buy them, they're like, some cases you can get them $1.25 a chick. You see, quail, you can get those rather cheaply. And I don't know if you all know this. Some of you might think it's gross, but pigeons, that's a clean bird to eat. They flying around free in the city of Detroit. Downtown, you throw them bread, feed them. But anything that you can raise and feed your family, why not give it a try? You see, cut that food bill in half, because haven't you noticed the dollar bill is shrinking? I talked to my children. We talked to our children about how things were when we were kids. You used to be able to take $1 and get 100 pieces of candy.
That's right.
Although we wouldn't allow that now, because, candy is not good. It's full of garbage, high fructose corn syrup. But the point I was trying to make is that for $1, we used to be able to get a lot of things. A lot of things. But today, you can't get a Suzy Q for $1. That was one of my treats as a kid.
It's amazing. We used to go over to Canada and shop or just go fishing over there, when we were in Detroit, probably about 20 years ago, what you say? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something. There were days we go over there with the American dollar, and you could clean up. I mean, for $1 was like $1.60 in Canadian money. It was like, wow, But now it's the opposite. So it's like, man, that dollar value done went down that far. To where now you go over to Canada, you spend $1. It's like now it's like 60 cents. You know, and so I said, man, I've seen the change. You know, and you got to know it's going to get worse. You know, so that's why we have got to start growing our own food and doing our own things. And some of this stuff, I'm telling you, I thought was hard. I sat there, I said, man, but bread. I said, how we gonna get out of it? We can't make no bread. We gotta buy bread, you know? And we started exploring it. We got to the point with my daughters, they cook excellent bread. I mean, it's just incredible. I sit there and say, wow, they made this. But they'll go to YouTube University, and they get these recipes and from other sites, and they'll try this, and pretty soon they got good at it, you know? And I remember one time I was looking at, I said, man, we got to get out of ketchup because they had one brand that had no high fructose corn syrup, but it's high in salt. They had another one that had no salt, but it had high fructose corn syrup. So I was like, man, how do you get around that? So one day I was looking at, I was getting some tomato paste out of a can to make some spaghetti. I said, you know what, it kind of looked like ketchup. So I wonder if you can make ketchup with tomato paste. So I looked up online. That's how they make it. With tomato paste. So I gave the recipe to my daughter, and she just started making ketchup. And it tastes it's better. Yeah, exactly. Better than the ketchup that you get from the store. You know? And so from that, we went on to doing our own dressings, our own dips, our own pretty much everything. Because we realized, man, it's really just that simple. You can do it yourself. Yep. You know, you put your own ingredients. You know what's in it when you do it, you know. So,
one question I like to ask people is if they had a box of polysorbate 80 on the shelf that you can just go and buy and use as a seasoning for your food, would you go and buy it? Polysorbate 80. What about a box of monosodium glutamate?
That's what she's going to say.
Okay.
It makes food taste really good, though, for real.
What about a box of...
aspartame.
What about a box of aspartame? So, if we wouldn't go buy a box of it to use it to sprinkle over our food or to sweeten our stuff, why do we buy it in our food? We don't realize that these people are doing a slow kill on us. They know it's not going to kill us right away where we drink it or we eat it and we just croak right then and there. It's a slow kill.
You spend your money at the hospital.
Yeah, that's where you spend your money. Exactly. It's expensive to die, family, so let's try to live. And so we have a job. We have a commission. And my husband, my children, my mother, they are my job. You see, I'm their job. We're all here to take care of each other. And so I even told my kids, because there's this particular ice cream that is cashew ice cream, and it's made wholesome and it's made right, but it got sugar in it. And that's one of my weaknesses. I said, if Mommy bring another box of that stuff in this house, I give you all permission, all of you, take it. Don't let me eat it. You all can have it. Just don't let me eat it. I said, you all have my permission to do that. So I haven't been buying it. But that was my motivation right there, because sugar is it was one of my weaknesses. But I realized, and some of you all may have heard this testimony before, one day I was popping these little small bite-sized chocolates like they were crack cocaine. I was sitting there on my computer, and I was just working. I was doing some work, and I was just popping them one at a time.
I was sitting there watching my wife. I was like, this girl, she was like, getting all shaky, like this. I said, whoa, baby. I said, how many of those things you ate? I mean, she went through it.
It was about 30 of them.
And I sit there, I said, oh, man. I said, we're going to have to stop this here. I said, that's too much, you know? And so, hey, some of us, we all got little weaknesses, especially when it comes to food, but it's important that we do get control over those things, because it ain't good. You know, I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me. I'm going to put this, I was thinking about doing a video or a documentary on it, but I'm going to tell you about it, okay? And it's shocking, okay? But the Most High had been giving me this statement. I keep been hearing it for about a few months now. It always go like this: put a knife to thy throat, if that be a man given into appetite. Right? Put a knife to your throat. So I kept hearing, I said, yeah, I know, Father. I know I'm going to cut back. I'm going to cut back here, you know, and all this, right? And I did. I cut back on some things, you know, but I didn't really do it the way I knew the Father was trying to get me to do it, right? One day I sit in my chair to meditate, and this really happened. Listen to me careful. I'm sitting in my chair meditating like this. All of a sudden, a hand came out of nowhere, and I don't know if it was real or if it was a dream. It felt real. This person had a big knife in their hand and pulled me up to my throat just like this. And I sat there, I was like, just like that. And then I came out of it, and I was like, and I knew it was an angel. And I sat there, I said, whoa, what was that about? It's just somebody about to come up and kill me or something. I'm panicking like this. I'm just going all out my mind. And then the voice said, put a knife to your throat if you be a man given into appetite. So when I heard the voice, I said, okay, he's trying to talk to me. I said, so let me meditate. Let me think on what he's trying to say. So after I meditated, I said, okay, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that if I continue to eat like this, I'm going to eventually kill myself? And if I'm going that route, you're going to just take me out anyway? You know what I mean? I was thinking like that. I was like, what are you trying to tell me? You going to just do it then? Or, you know, I'm thinking like that, you know? So after a while, I said, wow. I said, I get it. He's basically saying this here. Because we're in the land of our captivity and we can't control our foods, if you are a person that's given into appetite, it's really just like killing yourself. It's just like you taking a knife, putting it to your own throat. Because that's really what you're doing. But it was hard for me. I knew it. I knew that's what he was saying to me. But until when I had that dream or vision or whatever it was, when I felt it, it felt so real. It scared me. I mean, I felt the blade on my throat. I really felt it. I came out there. I was scared to tell my wife. I said, what's she going to think? Somebody come up in the house? Or what? I didn't know what to think. You know, and the spirit calmed me down. After I got calmed, then I heard the voice, put a knife to your throat. I said, oh, I get it. So let me think. Let me meditate. And so I came on. I said, you know what? I said, the Most High is trying to get me to really come away from this. You know, I don't know what to do about this situation here. There's someone that's in Madison. How far is Madisonville from here?
About 50 minutes or so.
It's about an hour from here. They're in Madisonville. They actually took a bus to Madisonville, and they're at Days Inn, and they want to come to the event. But they need a ride from Madisonville to here. Yeah. And is there anyone that think that you could probably make this trip and pick up this person, or? Because I could, we could help you with the gas or anything like that, you know. Okay. Well, yeah, so that's it. Okay, so I'll give them a call back and I'll get the information of where they're at. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment and give them a call back, and we're going to take some more questions, too. I still got a few minutes before the sun go down, and you may have to get a blanket or something. It's getting a little chilly. So I'm going to set up everything so we can watch the documentary. It's not too long. So I think it's about 90 minutes long, but I guarantee you, I saw the trailer to it, and you're going to like it. It's going to keep you woke, so. You call him there. Yeah. Okay, is there?
I don't mind going to go get them. I'm just trying to find Madisonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, my phone's acting a little funky over here. Madisonville. Oh, so it's about an hour away.
Yeah, about an hour. Yeah.
About an hour.
Hello.
Is there any more questions?
Yeah. Oh, so someone's already gonna go.
Go ahead, brother.
Oh, someone's already gonna go get out there.
Can you speak to these?
But it says about 51 minutes.
These things I've been hearing online concerning FEMA camps. Because I think a lot of people kind of rested because of the lack of preparation. Could turn to these alternative courses, which may not. Some of the things that I've heard about it is true.
Yeah.
That's what you want to go.
Yeah. But brother was saying he had a question about the FEMA camps. A lot of people don't really realize that it's that FEMA camp thing is a real thing. I mean, it's serious. When at first I said, okay, well you got to know if things get rough, that FEMA camps are going to get filled with people. Right. Now, I mean, for years I knew this. And I said, well, FEMA camps, maybe they just trying to help people. Sometimes you try to put that in your head. But last year when I saw what happened in, was it Texas? I think it was in Texas. Yeah. And they had these FEMA camp ships come over there. And I got the video where the news was interviewing this one lady that they were, and she was one of our people that they wanted her to get on this FEMA camp because she didn't have a place to go or whatever. And she's like, I don't want to get on that thing. Just look at it. Have you seen the ship? Anybody seen that FEMA camp ship? There's two of them that came down in Texas.
I can tell you that.
It looks just like a prison on the water. I mean, barbed wire at the top, around the top of it, and I'm sitting there saying, what's the barbed wire for? Once you get in that camp, it's like you in prison.
I tell you something, we out in Fort Worth, and my company based in Beaumont. I know a lot of people in Houston. A lot of those FEMA camps, we had people inside of them. Once you got in, you weren't allowed to leave. And there was like doors, like like gates, like on the inside of the camps. You couldn't leave. You were like on this curfew. You were allowed to go to this blank per hour for a certain amount of time. Kind of like, you got some yard time in jail. And you can come or you can go. And there was no place to charge your phone, so some people would send me pictures, send me videos. I only had it available for so long, because after a while your phone was dead. And then now you can't call, you can't go anywhere, and you're stuck in this room where you literally can't leave, and there's armed guards outside. Yes. You have your own protection, you can't have your knife. Like you can't, like they think you're gonna make a shiv or cut somebody. It's really weird. Like you're not allowed to go. You can't leave.
Yeah.
You can't get in. They have stuff, and then a lot of people went down there to work. They went down there to work. Mm-hmm. They go out there, they'll get you down there, and then you're actually stuck. They won't even give you a job there, and then you can't even get back to where you're from when they gave you the ticket to get you down there.
Wow.
And a lot of people that are going out there to help was getting stuck. Like one of my best friends was going out there to help. He ended up leaving because he would have got stuck.
Wow.
And he's just going out there to help.
Wow.
And there were a lot of trains coming back and forth with these tubs.
Yeah.
And they were saying
we live next to the train track.
Yeah.
The trains with army tanks.
We saw tanks.
Wow.
United Nation tanks we're going to some places. We used to live next to railroad tracks, so United Nation tanks coming. Poly black coffin type thing where you can put multiple people each one of them, and there's lots of things, so many tanks. My best friend, he's a trucker now too, so he's seen them too at the yard. I'm talking about crazy amount of tanks from the United Nations coming to America right now, and these camps everywhere. And it's really because before Barack Obama left, he assigned the prerequisite for what's it called? What happens if we could take all your guns? We can just capture you if you say anything. martial law, he signed a prerequisite for martial law. So look, if you say certain keywords, you can be picked up. And I read the document through. It's really long, hundreds of pages. And basically, you say certain words on the phone or on this or that, and they can take you to these camps. And that's where all the tanks are going to. And then, and it's United Nations is part of the whole funding structure around it.
That's why you do have to be careful. Any searches you do on Google, please pay attention. Be careful of what you put in Google. Okay? Don't just be researching anything and everything on Google. I'm telling you right now, they are watching. When certain words pop up, you go into a database automatically. Okay? There was a rock and roller. I remember when I saw this story about, I think it's about 15 years ago. I don't know if any of you know who Pete Townsend is. Anyone know who Pete Townsend is? He was one of the lead guitarists of the group called The Who, which was one of the biggest groups, rock and roll groups of all time, right? But Pete Townsend gets on Google and decided to look up something about child molestation or something like that, pretty much. And he was doing research. But they paid him a visit. The police showed up at his door because he put that in Google. That's right. And so you just can't be on the internet typing up anything, this here and that there, and think that there's no one watching. Okay? Trust me on it. They are watching. Okay? And so you want to know how to make something, you know. Yeah, I'm looking to, I got the boulder here I want to blow up, and you can looking up bomb, you in trouble. Don't look up nothing like that, you in trouble.
Say one thing about that bill real quick. Since we're talking about prepping, if you want to start researching prepping to a certain degree, you probably want to start buying books. One, because we know this stuff's going to go down. Right. But two, because part of the bill that Obama signed before he left, one of the last bills he signed, part of the bill is they're targeting preppers.
Yep.
They're targeting preppers really hard, and when you search online for all these different things, different preppers, different things you save or you tag or you putting on there, they're targeting them really hard for these camps because they're saying, oh, you stored this much water, and we saw you were looking up this, looking up that. And they see what you're buying, especially if it's off credit card purchases. They can't keep track of cash. On credit card purchases, if you store in certain states, if you store a certain amount of water, a certain amount of this, a certain amount of that, then you get tagged, and they can take you to one of these camps. They can take you to one of these FEMA camps, and you know, it's basically like jail. Like I don't know anybody. I don't know that person directly, but I know a friend of mine who said, yeah, they picked him up because he was, you know, because we all try to save him, be working on prepping and stuff. And because he went over the saving limit for water. It's a limit of how much they know you have blank amount. Same thing with a blank amount of ammo, certain amount of guns, these different trigger things that they can see that you got. Yeah. And they will just pick you up.
Yeah.
Not cool. Can I say another thing too? It was a man, know the laws too for your states and the properties too that you may be trying to attain. Because I seen on YouTube also, it was a guy who put a windmill, he owned the property. Yep. He put a windmill in his backyard and he went to jail for that, where a windmill could produce free electricity for your own house. Same thing could be with solar panels, or if you want to collect water. Yeah, if you want to collect water, rainwater.
Rainwater, yep.
You know, there's laws that may prohibit you from buying it depending on where the property, type of property or state, your area you're looking at.
You want to look up property that says no restrictions. That's basically what you're looking for. You want an area that says no restrictions, and you better check everything. Now, I do mean everything.
You gotta check it yearly, because I got some land that changed from agriculture to commercial. And my family land went from like $10 a year it was on 4.6 acres. It went up to like 970 some years, because they can just change the zone.
Yeah.
In over a year, you'll see the prices jump up.
Even with land that have no restrictions, the county itself may have certain things that they require. Like with this land here, they say if you have a certain number of trailers, you have to become an RV park, you know, in which you just get a permit to do that. But if that's not what your goal is, if you want to have a certain number of trailers on your property, they'll require that you either get a permit or that you build permanent cabins.
And guess what? If you do an RV, it's required that you do a paved lots for the driveway for the RVs, and they have to be on concrete too. And you have to hire plumbers to come in and do the plumbing for them too. Yeah.
Unless you live in a state where you don't need to have a licensed plumber. Some states you don't have to, but some you do.
After all these changes that you make to your property, once the government notices that you're doing it, they still can have the right to come in and commandeer your land for whatever purposes that they said they deemed fit at the time. Like there were some instances that were in Michigan. One guy had oil that he discovered on his land.
He had a mineral rights.
Yeah, and the government came in and said, you know what, we need this land. And he was just taken out of it. And it's like you're set in a box to where it's even when you think that you're trying to do something conservational wise, or you're trying to take care of yourself. Like, how do you safeguard yourself?
Well, let me say this here real quickly here, okay? One thing we got to learn how to be is we got to be covert and very quiet in the things we do. Now, I remember when I saw this happen to a person. This person that found all that gold. Did you remember the story? The person found that old Confederate gold or something like that. This is old gold from back in the days, okay? And it was how many millions of dollars of gold? It was a few million. And they said, oh, I want to take it here and see if it's real or whatever. They took it to a place and said, oh, yes, we're real. And the government's going to seize it, too. It's ours.
Wow.
You know, and I bet he was like, oh, man, like, I found it. It was on my property. And you all gonna just take it like that from me. So we got to be smart. You find oil on your property. This ain't like back in the 1800s. You find oil like you know what's Beverly Hillbillies. You know? I'm rich. You know, no, it ain't like that no more. It's gonna be like we're rich. You're not. You know. So you find oil on your land, just keep it quiet. You know, and figure out something, but don't go to the authorities. Just be covert.
What you have to do is, if that was to happen, you have to discreetly, of course, like you said, you have to go and buy your mineral rights. Because you can own the land, like this land might be owned, but you don't own mineral rights too, you don't own the oil. And they can just pump in your land. They can pay you to pump in your land if they have to, but if you want all your money out of it, like all of it, you have to go and buy your mineral rights. You have to wait. I would wait almost a year before you even say, oh, I found oil. Because otherwise, within a certain amount of time, you can get it revoked.
Yeah.
And they can take your mineral rights back.
They've covered every base. So you have to be one step ahead. There was a family who lived in Ohio, and they were trying to do everything by the book. They wanted to ask all the questions, get all the things that they were supposed to get. And so they called and asked the state for permission to do something very simple. And that put them on the radar. So the state was like, okay, so you're calling for permission to do this. And so the state paid them a visit. They seized all of this family's livestock. They destroyed all of their milk and cheese and stuff that they had produced. All of their garden stuff was destroyed. And I'm like, what is going on in this country to where you think it's okay to destroy food and just take people's livestock, destroy the livestock? Because they had this thing against raw milk, okay? If you want raw milk or you want to sell raw milk, you can be fined for that. It's like this country seems to be turning on its citizens who have been able to enjoy these things. Now, I don't advocate for milk in any way, but to have your stuff just taken from you and destroyed because they don't want you selling raw milk, have your livestock taken away, that's got to be a nightmare. You see?
The question that I've been noticing a lot lately is that we're turning into a really cashless society. So how would you, like, even coming down here, like a lot of hotels won't even let you check in if you just got money. Like, you have to have a credit card.
Yes.
So what are the preparations that you would make in order to kind of like curtail some of this stuff? Because you can, like you say, you can be able to tell what's coming by you know, reading the tea leaves or seeing the signs that are coming. But that, like, I want to say, like, it's at least 40 to 50% of the hotels that you're checking into now, and a lot of other establishments, that unless you have a credit card on file or some way for them to physically track you, you're not even allowed to, you know, to do business with you.
Well, I say that we are caught in between a rock and a hard place. There's a guy who's teaching people how to fall off grid. He says when you fall off grid, he has a way that if you're going to do it, you're going to have to go all the way with it, you know. And most of us are not prepared to do that at all. Most of us need the grid, you see. And that's a bad place to be, where you need the grid. And so this is why we have to prepare ourselves mentally, because we're not able to do all of what's needed right now. Unless you have like gobs of money, you are in a position where you just have to think smart. You see, in terms of buying land, like you said, about mineral rights, there are a number of things you have to consider. A lot of people, I like to watch a lot of tiny home videos, because a lot of these people are building tiny homes in the boonies, okay? And what they're doing is buying raw land that has been sitting for a long time. It's nothing but woods, nothing's on it, and they are carving themselves a path back in those woods, and they're getting themselves prepared with a small tiny house, a water system, their own heating system, all of that stuff, to where they can just drop it back there. No one even knows they're there. You see, now there are some lands that are like that, where they say absolutely no restrictions, live how you want to live, right? And most of us aren't prepared to do that. Most of us, we want to be connected to everything. Give me some light, give me some water, give me some gas, but you're putting yourself right back on the radar. So, like we said, it's a mental thing. How far are you willing to go with this? And we don't want people to be panicked or worried. We just want you to think about these things. And if you're not ready to do anything, at least explore. Explore what needs to be done, because we don't want to be caught doing nothing.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead on and get set up. So we're going to take probably about, I would say, 10 minutes, maybe, I would say probably about 10 minutes to get set up. So, and then we'll be ready to start the movie.
I guess we could tell you.